In northern Thailand, just a few miles from the Laotian border, is the city of Unarmed. Based there through much of the war was a wing of Air Force RF-101s. The RF-101 was not your usual warbird. Unarmed and alone, they flew over the most hostile and heavily defended enemy territory in all of Southeast Asia. The tactical reconnaissance pilot who flew these ships acted as the eyes of the U.S. military in Nam. Most Americans back stateside never knew they even existed, but the enemy was well aware of their mission and what effect their all-seeing eyes could have on the communist plans in the South. To down an RF-101 was what the SAM missile crews trained and lived for.
Perhaps you haven't realized, but here in Vietnam there are two distinct types of war being fought. South of the demilitarized zone, the action is on the ground. It's an army war. And the air forces are being used in direct support of this ground action. In the north, there is no ground war. The war is being fought in the air, and the air forces are being used to interdict these major supply routes, to stop the flow of men and supplies in support of the Viet Cong.
As the intensity of the air war grew, the recon pilots were in the air around the clock. Reconnaissance planes would look for potential targets and do bomb damage assessments. For reconnaissance pilots, photographing the target was only half the mission. An hour after the aircrafts returned to base, negatives from the various cameras began to emerge from the rapid automatic processing machines. They were then analyzed, titled, and prepared for distribution to the various commands. Among the first to view the film were the pilots who risked their lives to obtain it.
Hold it. There's the high gear rail bridge.
Boy, what a picture. You have the approaches and everything real good.
The approaches have been repaired. The bridge is definitely back in business. Looks like it's ready to handle traffic.
Sergeant Palmquist, make sure that this film gets on the first available courier to headquarters.
Yes, sir. Departure time is 14:20.
It's obvious the bridge is completely serviceable now. Zim, when was the last time we struck this target?
About 3 weeks ago.
Well, I'll bring this information to the General's attention right away. The enemy can carry a lot of material over this target, sir.
After the Department of Defense and the wing commanders had a chance to review the photos, orders are sent to the appropriate squadron. F-105 Thunder Chiefs, out of an airbase in Thailand, rolled down the runway to take out the bridge. Smoke and dust from the bombs often made it difficult for the strike pilots to assess the extent of the damage. Dodging enemy surface-to-air missiles and heavy ground fire, they head for home. The bomb damage assessment is left up to the reconnaissance air crews. As they prepare for their mission, they know that unlike the bombers, their visit won't be unexpected. This time the enemy will be ready and waiting. With a flight plan established and a final briefing under their belts, they were airborne. As they flew over the zone, they could see that the strike was successful. One bridge span lying shattered in the water, and a nearby railroad line severed. But the enemy wasted no time in repairing the damage, and in a matter of days, the same air crew would be back to take out the bridge once again. In Vietnam, the enemy's respect for American air power was so great that the movement of men and supplies during the daylight hours was virtually non-existent. When darkness fell, work was over for most crews who flew over North Vietnam. For the night flyers, it just began. The air crews plotted against a number of enemies: MiG fighters, anti-aircraft artillery from the ground, and SAM missiles. Then there was the hazard of flying over hostile territory on the deck in total darkness.
This will be our 23rd night mission tonight. Got 45 total counters now over North Vietnam. Big difference between the day and the night jobs, of course, is that all your night stuff is at low altitude. Dodging around the mountains, watching out for rocks. And the navigation problems in this part of the world are really quite serious. It's a good thing we have a navigator in the airplane. We'd never be able to hack it without one. Big thing that gets to us some nights, we're the only airplane going up into the north, and when you think we're the only Americans over North Vietnam, it kind of makes you wonder just a little bit, you know. What am I doing here?
Among the sensing devices, night reconnaissance used photo flash cartridges to photograph targets such as supply routes and nocturnal activity along the coast and the harbor. As the plane approached the target area, the pilot extinguished the running lights. Then the photo flash cartridges were ejected, and a light sensor triggered a camera mechanism. Results of the night's work, troops moving along a country road, are discovered and targeted for an early morning surprise. The North Vietnamese may have been able to hide during the daylight hours, but they could not hide from the eyes that saw in the night.